found my perfect sound. Can you see the fire in my eyes? Bitch, it's burning now. Lightning in a bottle, I think I just found my perfect sound. Can you see the fire in my eyes? Bitch, it's burning now.
Yo, 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 how you living, how you feeling, how you doing? This is First Choice Fantasy. We are back today, and today we're bringing you Week 5, start sits, running back position. Alex is not here today. That's fine, because I can say the score because I'm a big boy now. So, the scoreboard of Week 4, Brandon finished the week on a bunch of cop-outs with a plus 10.
Two cop-outs that blew up for over 30 points.
4 cop-outs. Alex finished the week with a plus 1, and I finished the week, per usual, with my ballsy self with a minus 2. The running total, I'm in last by a large margin, minus 14. Alex is next to last, which is second place, minus 3, and Brandon has a plus 11. Brandon's the lucky man, I guess, but defeats the purpose. Alex is not here. He has a sickness that is not the COVID, so that's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. But we're going to move forward without him, and we're going to go with our running back start sits, 2 per person, or 2 starts per person, 2 sits per person. I will kick us off here with my first start, David Johnson against the Jacksonville Jaguars. David Johnson, he has not looked too hot this year. He's getting some volume. After the firing of Bill O'Brien, I think that their offense is not going to change too much. So I think David Johnson's still going to have his role. I mean, I did see – let me pull up the snap share real quick. But I did think, the first 3 weeks he surpassed 80% snap share for the first 3 weeks. Week 4, 55% of the snaps. But he had the most opportunities of every single game so far. So maybe that's a point in the right direction. They're going to use him less. Well, they're going to use him more often, but they're going to have him in the game less. So maybe his legs stay fresh, maybe. Jacksonville's defense obviously is not one of the best, and I believe David Johnson is going to get a touchdown, put up some good points, and be fantasy relevant for Week 5. You have any comments on Mr. Johnson?
I don't see that happening. I mean, Week 4, right? Joe Mixon ran all over Jacksonville. So
his usage
Johnson can definitely do the same.
I hope so. I really hope so. Moving forward, I have my second start as a situational start, okay? So my start is Jerick McKinnon if Raheem Mostert is out, which is possible because Raheem Mostert's questionable as of right now. They're hoping to get him back at practice. They're hoping to have him ready for the game this Sunday. But there's a chance it doesn't happen. And if that chance happens, that he doesn't happen, if that makes any sense. Jerick McKinnon plays against Miami. If Mostert doesn't play, I'm all over the place right now. If Raheem Mostert does not play against Miami, Jerick McKinnon is a clear start. He's had double-digit points in half PPR leagues for the entirety of the season, even having 32% snap share Week 1, 23% snap share Week 2. He still managed 12 points Week 1, 13 points Week 2. And then he had 15 Week 3, 19 Week 4. And Week 4, he had 92% snap share. And he was able to maintain that load with his knee. That's something notable, and I think moving forward they're going to use him even more and more. Playing against Miami, who has a putrid run defense. According to Derek Brown on Twitter, they are 29th in explosive run rate allowed and 31st in red zone rushing defense. Like I said, if Raheem Mostert is out, it's Jerick McKinnon all day. If Raheem Mostert is in, I guess in that case I would start Raheem Mostert instead of having Jerick McKinnon. But we will get to that depending on the situation next week. So those are my 2 starts of the week at the running back position.
And also, just real quick before you move on from Jerick McKinnon, if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't play that game, I honestly think that might bode – well, I guess it wouldn't bode well for him, but I think it would get him more looks, more touches in that way. Whether or not that outweighs poor quarterback play is up to whether or not McKinnon can break one for a long one. Because I think McKinnon will get a good bit of like touchdown, or not touchdowns, just I don't know, drop off passes. So that'll boost his fantasy day right there.
Especially if he plays on the majority of the snaps like he did with 92% this past week. I think there's a chance that he gets an absurd amount of touches if Raheem Mostert is out.
Yeah. So moving on to my starters. So I want to get this clear before fully jumping in. Todd Gurley, I think, is a trade away type of player, and I really think you hold on to him. This is kind of like how long can you hold on to this player? Well, he's had two really good, well, not really good, but two manageable games in the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago against Chicago, he had 13 points, and then everyone knows Monday night he had 18 points against Green Bay. He doesn't look like Todd Gurley, and I don't think he's ever going to look like Todd Gurley, the one we used to know. And a lot of people probably know this, but there are some fantasy owners that haven't maybe watched the Falcons game, and they may see Todd Gurley scoring these points, getting the touches, and they might trade you something for Gurley. But with that said, hold on to him for one more week, because against Carolina, I really like this matchup. I think it's going to be a Todd Gurley game, because Carolina Panthers offense is running pretty smoothly right now, but it's not the type of offense with that. See, if it was like the Cowboys, I wouldn't play Gurley, because that offense would run up the score. Gurley's not going to get receiving looks, and the touches will be limited. However, the Panthers, their offense can be stopped. Whether or not the Falcons will actually stop them is just, well, beyond me. But I think it's as close to a good matchup for Gurley to get touches as you're going to get. And I think one more week he's going to produce well. And then I say offload him, try and trade him away, whatever you can get out of him.
I have a statement real quick. So I like your idea and I like your thinking. While Todd Gurley also has been vulturing his points practically on touchdowns alone, his volume on the ground has been there, but he hasn't really been efficient with it. And he doesn't really have much receiving chops. Like, he's had 8 targets in 4 games, so he's averaging 2 targets a game, 1 catch a game, which is not something you want to see. But he does play Carolina this week, like you said. Plays Minnesota next week, which is another pretty good matchup. Then he plays Detroit the week after that, which is another good matchup. Then he plays Carolina again, which is another good matchup, obviously. And then Denver week 9, which I think is
a poor – yeah.
So I think that's like 5 weeks you can get out of him. So I wouldn't juice him out just yet. I mean, if you are scared of his knee, that's a valid one to trade him away for. But based on schedule, I think these next coming games, if you really want to base your trades on matchups and whatnot, I would hold on to him, or I would possibly go out and trade for him just for a little bit, just to see. Honestly, I mean, if he performs, people are probably going to be like, it's the old Todd Gurley, and say he has 10 touchdowns by week 9? By week 9.
Yeah.
Possible, because he has 4 already in 4 weeks. So if he gets 9 to 10 touchdowns by week 9, you could possibly offload him for a decent amount. So I would probably hold on to him. But I like the idea.
It's all dependent on how long you want to hold him. Like, I mean, if he comes out and puts up a dud one of those weeks, I think it's going to significantly decrease his value, because people are going to recognize and be reminded of the player he is now rather than what he was. So it's all in how you want to roll your dice. So, but very good, catch. I recognize this week was a cake matchup, but yeah, you're right. The next few matchups are going to be cake for him. Speaking of cake, Cincinnati defense, Mark Ingram, he's going to be feeding on this cake. He's going to be eating it up. He's my start. Lock him in. He's a veteran. He's going against a division rival, and I think this is the type of match you want your vet running backs in, personally. I think out of any matchups if you're rostering Mark Ingram, these are the matchups that you have him for, unless you have him as a backup plan. So Mark Ingram for this match is looking pretty good, and I say start him because I could see this team getting a decent lead and them running the ball. So Mark Ingram.
I do bow to you, obviously, as you have a plus 11 compared to my minus 14, 25-point difference, by the way. But I have a feeling that it could be the first game that we see J.K. Dobbins actually break out. You know what I mean? Because, this is going to be one of those games where, obviously, Baltimore's going to win. I bet my life savings that I don't really have much of on the Ravens to win against the Bengals. I think they just might put J.K. Dobbins into that place for him to actually get the volume and actually show what he's really made of against a defense that obviously isn't that great, and you're playing against a division rival. So he's going to try to get more experience, I guess you could say, within the division. And it's going to be a game, like I said, the Ravens are going to win. So there's going to be carries going to running back position. I guess it is just a matter of who you want to play among those running backs for the Ravens. But I feel like I have a feeling it's not really much of a just intuition. I think that J.K. Dobbins kind of breaks out this week against Cincinnati. Though I don't disagree with the Ingram take because, it is a starting running back per se for the Ravens against a poor Cincinnati defense.
It's funny you have to say that about this matchup and how you feel as if J.K. Dobbins will get the looks, because that's exactly how I felt last week when I made Mark Ingram my sit against Washington. I was thinking the same mindset. J.K. Dobbins week, a week where you kind of expect the Ravens to roll the team they're going against, and you're like, oh, well, they're going to try and get this rookie in and get them some touches and, like you said, see what they can do. But Mark Ingram had his, second to best game of the year last week, which is only 10 points. But still, it's funny you should say that.
To be frank, Mark Ingram did have his lowest snap percentage of the entire season, while J.K. Dobbins managed to tie Gus Edwards at 37% on the year.
Okay.
So that was.
They're saving Ingram for the divisional matchup.
They're saving J.K. Dobbins' breakout for the Cincinnati Bengals. Show them who's.
I hope for my dynasty team. Sure, I'm all on board. I'm waiting, licking my chops for J.K. Dobbins to do something.
He'll be something in due time, unless you trade him to me, and then it'll be something right now. But the starts for Alex at the running back position are cakewalks or gimmies or very cowardly.
Week in, week out starters.
Alex might not like the fact that I keep calling him cowardly on this thing, so I'm probably going to dial it back a little bit. But, he's starting Kareem Hunt, who is the starter in Cleveland now.
For the Browns,
the most run-heavy team, one of the most run-heavy teams in the NFL, against the Colts. His comments are, Chubb is out, and he might be their best weapon in the passing game on Sunday. Possibly. Okay, I'm not going to refute that too much. He's not here to really comment on it. But CEH against Las Vegas, a first-round running back. His notes are, this has all the makings of a massive week. Vegas is last in allowing fantasy points to running backs per the Sleeper app. So that was expert advice from Alex. I'm obviously not in a disagreement among those two picks because they're if I had them, I'd be starting them regardless. But it is a valid observation by Alex.
The valid starts.
Yeah, the valid starts. Well, let's get into some invalid sits on my part. As you know, I have a -14 on the year, so my picks are not accurate. But I'm going to keep going. And I got Miles Sanders against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, which you may think of as a cop-out because you really don't have to do much research in order to kind of make this conclusion, the fact that Pittsburgh's defense is amazing. Miles Sanders has looked rough, and the Eagles' offensive line has disintegrated practically. They've really just disappeared. Jason Peters on IR. Brandon Brooks, obviously, beginning of the season, got out. They lost Andre Dillard as well. Lane Johnson was in and off the field last week, and that resulted in Miles Sanders having 3.5 yards per carry and 8.6 fantasy points last week against the San Francisco 49ers defense, which is also banged up. Pittsburgh's defense is not banged up, especially in the front four. If anything, is banged down like a nail and hammer. And Miles Sanders is going to be put on lock by the Pittsburgh front four against Pittsburgh, week 5. He's my sit. He's my first sit. Any comments?
At first, I thought Miles Sanders sit is a ballsy move just because of the team being so reliant on him getting touches because they have nobody. However, you bring up a very valid point when saying that, the offensive line for the Eagles is non-existent. And, yeah, I mean, if I had Miles Sanders for this week, I'd be scared to start him. So
he's probably one of those players that you're really not going to bench. But, I mean, in all actuality, if he puts up 5 points, you're mad that you started him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is getting rid of hindsight and just using your head and benching Miles Sanders. And I'm just going to keep this clip because I know next week he's going to put up like 25 points, and then I'm going to have like a black and white clip of me just saying it's a logical decision of sitting Miles Sanders. But
so real quick, just before we move on, I'm just going to pull up some running backs and just go through some running backs that are projected to have around the points that Sanders has. So would you start Todd Gurley over Miles Sanders? Because he's ahead of Miles Sanders. Like,
I hate to say it, but probably.
Yeah.
I hate to say it because I don't like Todd Gurley, but I mean,
yeah,
that is what really gets me. I mean, I don't know. The thing is,
I mean, it's second to last defense against the run for Todd Gurley. Positive. That's a positive. And then the best defense against the run for Miles Sanders. So
difference
that's what you're looking at.
Is the fact that Todd Gurley has no, like I said, receiving upside's not really there, and he's really dependent on touchdowns. And while I'm not sure he's going to get those touchdowns, I know Miles Sanders is going to get that receiving work. So, like, it's realistic to say Miles Sanders gets 4 catches or 5 catches this week, but it's not too far. It's realistic, but it's kind of out of the realm of real possibilities for Todd Gurley to get like 2 touchdowns, But I would have to go Todd Gurley just to stick to my guns, I'm not going to say, no, start Miles Sanders over Todd Gurley because I like Todd Gurley starting this week, but I don't know. It takes a lot of heart to make that decision, and I think a lot of fantasy owners are going to have to make that decision this week. So it's a valid one.
Yeah.
All right, my second sit of the week at the running back position. The Giants starting running back Devonta Freeman versus Dallas. Okay, so
you got it right the first time. He reeks. Right?
He does reek. Yeah, he looks like he smells too. But Devonta Freeman against the Dallas Cowboys, he averaged 3 yards per carry against the Rams last week on 11 carries, and he had involvement in the passing game, which might lead to my death this week, as I might go with a -2 if he gets a touchdown and he has that receiving work that he did last week, because he had 8.8 points against the Rams. Plays Dallas, who I think is going to be a shootout. Not necessarily like a high-scoring shootout, but I think it's going to be scoring back and forth and back and forth, back and back, if that makes any sense. It really doesn't make any sense, but in my mind, it makes sense. It's going to be a low-scoring shootout where I don't think that the Giants are really going to be running the ball that much. So my logic would be to sit Devonta Freeman because he's not going to be getting carries, but he's probably going to be getting targets and receptions, which is it's countering my entire argument here. But that is the only case in which Devonta Freeman's actually going to show value this week, is if he gets those targets and actually does something with them. I don't really believe in him as a talent in the receiving game or just out in the open field in general. So I'm sitting Devonta Freeman against Dallas.
That's valid. Devonta Freeman for me, I'd roster him, being that running backs are so rare to find.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's gotten work, and this is only his second week with the team. So, I mean, he's a running back to roster, but I mean, matchup wise, you gotta consider the other team's offense and what points they're gonna put up. I think Dallas is gonna put up more points. So, me personally, I would say Freeman. If he would have success, it's going to be, like you said, through targets and receptions. Other than that, Freeman might be wiped from the game plan.
And he also has, Deion Lewis there to take some receiving work.
Yeah.
But the line, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, they have total points at 54, and the Cowboys are 9.5-point favorites, which shows a negative game script per se for the Giants. So they're going to be passing a lot, which might show some volume for Devonta Freeman, like I said. But like I said, they also have Deion Lewis, who might negate that high ceiling of receiving.
I think Gallman too, right? Or is he injured?
They have Gallman. He's not injured.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump into my sits of the week. Running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Ronald Jones. I'm suggesting to sit him just because this front seven for the Bears is pretty stout. And I think this game's going to get pretty I don't see the Bears going to be putting up a lot of points against this defense personally. I think Buccaneers defense is pretty good, and I don't think that the Buccaneers are really going to struggle. I think Tom Brady's going to have a good game. However, I think Jones will struggle, even though he had a pretty solid week last week. But
are you still explaining?
No, there's not much explanation for this one. It's kind of, sometimes in fantasy, you just get feelings. And, this is just a feeling type of pick for me. And so far this year, I mean, feelings have been getting me a pretty decent way. So I'm not going to shy away from that. So if you want stats, look at my scoreboard. So
I like that. I can dig it. My disagreement lies with the fact that I think Ronald Jones, obviously with LaShawn McCoy out, Leonard Fournette possibly out as well, I think that kind of, leads up to Ronald Jones having a workhorse role. You know what I mean? Like, whether it be on the ground or whether it be in the air, he wasn't all that efficient with his touches he did have last week besides on the ground. On the ground, he had 20 carries for 111 yards, which is very efficient, especially against the Chargers defense, which is pretty solid as well. And he had 9 targets, which is absurd, but he only turned that 9 targets into 6 catches for 17 yards, which is bad.
Yeah.
So he's not too efficient, I guess it seems, through the air, especially against Chicago. I understand where you're coming from, but the volume might be there. And running back's probably one of those positions that you really have to depend on volume, per se, rather than efficiency, because you can't really bank on efficiency, like I said, like we said, like we know. Like people should know. But, yeah, that's my opinion on Ronald Jones.
All right. My This is a popular guy on this podcast. Melvin Gordon. I think he's made an appearance in like
Definitely.
each and every episode so far. Same as Kareem Hunt. He's also been pretty popular. But this week Melvin Gordon's a sit for me. He got to eat. He ate last week against the Jets, but this week against New England, I don't see him having a good week at all.
He's not visiting the buffet.
What was that?
He's not visiting the buffet this week.
No, it's off the table for him this week. He had enough points last week to be satisfied. So, as a fantasy owner, sit him. But the matchup against New England is just if Drew Lock was starting, I would feel more comfortable because I feel like the Patriots defense would feel obligated to try and take away the pass, like taking away Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant. But since Fant is injured and Jeudy has ripened to throw him the ball, I don't think Belichick is going to really focus on those players. He's going to focus on Melvin Gordon because he's pretty much the only guy left that's like, I don't know, that can rely on themselves because Jeudy relies on Ripon, and Ripon isn't anything special, and Melvin Gordon is going to get stopped this week. So, yeah.
I agree. I mean, before we were recording, I was trying to change my running back sits, and I said Melvin Gordon, and you said, oh, I have him. So I would agree with Melvin Gordon sitting this week, especially against the Patriots defense and the fact that they really don't have any weapons. So like you said, Patriots really are going to hone in on stopping Melvin Gordon. So I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Moving forward, we got Alex's two sits. Devin Singletary against Tennessee. This was assuming Moss comes back and also assuming this game is played. So he's really assuming a lot of things. This is what he said. He also noted.
Well, if any of those things go wrong, he's got an excuse.
He does have an excuse.
Well, assuming Moss comes back, assuming the game's played,
assuming Chase Claypool would play last week, as you had.
Yeah, that was. Now watch. I'll make him my sit when they play.
Chase Claypool?
That? Huh?
Chase Claypool?
Yeah, when's that game getting played? Week 7?
Week 7.
8? Yeah, week 7, mark it. Chase Claypool is going to be a sit.
All right. Well, we got Devin Singletary, like we said. Alex noted that he was terrible efficiency-wise last week, and he salvaged it with a touchdown. I don't like the chances of that with Moss in the game. That's what Alex said. Well, I agree with the fact that I don't really see a touchdown in his range of outcomes, which, it's always possible to get a touchdown, but I don't see it happening, obviously. Say with Zach Moss if he was there, or Josh Allen just taking goal line work. So, I understand the touchdown and his lack of efficiency. So I guess I agree with Alex on sitting Devin Singletary. What do you guys say?
Yeah, I'd agree with that against this. The defense has a pretty solid run defense. And plus, they've got Josh Allen for red zone work, even if Moss is out, I think.
Yeah.
I think Singletary's value is, highly hindered by, the whole mechanics of this team. Yeah. It's just like having, his next sit, Damian Harris. When Cam Newton comes back, the running back kind of takes a hit because Cam Newton's going to get majority of the red zone carries, pretty much.
Yeah.
Same goes for Josh Allen. So
as you said, Damian Harris is Alex's second sit. His notes say Broncos haven't allowed many fantasy points to running backs. Harris may have a large workload, but Newton could just come back to steal all the goal line work. I don't know if Cam Newton is even eligible to play this week. Is he? Do you know? Brandon?
I don't know. However, I've heard that he hasn't been having any symptoms.
Yeah.
So he's asymptomatic. So I'm not sure what that means when it comes to NFL protocol. From what I heard, it's 10 days after not feeling symptoms, but I could be wrong.
All right. Well, that is a very bad protocol, and I don't agree with it. But it is the NFL, and they make millions of dollars, and they have million-dollar scientists who just help them with these decisions. So, but Alex said he doesn't trust the anemic offense of the Patriots without Cam Newton. So that's valid. Damian Harris looked like a freaking beast last night. Or not last night. On Sunday.
It was last night.
It was last night. I'm tweaking. Damian Harris did look like a beast last night. Efficiency through the roof. Obviously had the workload because Sony Michel wasn't there. Pulled off IR, put in the game, and balled out, but it's not going to happen according to Alex this week, and I would agree with him.
Yeah. Not a great matchup.
At all. In any book.
Nope.
All right. That marks the end of this episode. The start sits for the running backs in the week 5. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and leave a comment downstairs in the comments if you have any comments about who to start or who to sit this week. Different decisions, hard choices. Let us know.
Yeah. First week of buys, so everyone be prepared. Hopefully you got who you wanted during waivers.
Yeah. Be crucial. All right. Heading out. Deuces.
Later.